Welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you fellas doing?
Doing well, man. Coming off a beautiful Chicago-type victory last night, 12-10 for the Bears over the Vikings. Might have mentioned that in passing as a potential joke of a money line last week, and it ended up turning out. I didn't bet it. Can't say I bet it. But, yeah, I also got to go to the Colts game this past weekend with some buddies. First time at Lucas Oil. Awesome stadium if you ever guys get a chance to get down that way. With the retractable roof. Climate-controlled November football, man, is just the best way to watch it. I felt like I was watching Red Zone at home, man. It was great.
Yeah, not gonna lie. Like I'm watching that Buffalo versus Eagles game, and I just see the rain pouring down and all the fans. I'm just like, that is a good game, but
Great
brutal
game.
experience. Brutal experience. I feel in that cold. So getting a little temperature-controlled environment for watching football.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you witnessed my boy JT with 2 tutties, man. 2 tutties. Too bad.
Pittman having a big game.
Oh, my boy Michael Pittman. That dude's a stud, man. Alpha. He's
Yes.
an alpha dog, wide receiver 1, man.
Yep.
This week in fantasy football, another beautiful week. 4-1. Bunch of teams dropping over 130. Regression to the mean, baby. My teams are thriving right now. My teams are thriving. And I just need a little luck now. There's only 2 weeks left in fantasy football, and I need some teams to lose. I got a 1% chance in the league that matters most. But if the fantasy gods align, man, it'll be the greatest comeback ever.
No chance.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm winning out. That's all I've got to say. I'm winning out.
You'll handle your business.
Yeah, and I'll let fate decide after that. I'll let fate decide.
That's all you can do sometimes.
Yeah, all those teams that are potentially making the playoffs, I see a bunch of losing out teams. I see a bunch of the luck is catching up to these teams,
each other, and then if any of them face each other, though, you're screwed because one of them's got to win.
I know. I know those.
He's hoping for ties, maybe.
I
don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
ties at like 60 points a game.
Yeah, that's
low scoring.
That would be amazing. That would be. That would be the fantasy guys. Just give me a blessing.
Crunch time, Zoo.
It is a beautiful, beautiful week. Shout out to Jalen Hurts for carrying some of my teams right now because Jalen Hurts, what he's doing, Lamar Jackson, take some notes. That's all I got to say. Lamar, take some notes with their 14 points, man. It's embarrassing. Just embarrassing.
Speaking of a guy that you might be able to get next year in fantasy for low value, because I think Lamar he's pissing a lot of people off.
He's so frustrating.
Yeah, he's pissing a lot of people off. So you might be able to get him super low next year. But speaking of Jalen Hurts, he's one of the guys who we'll be talking about in this next topic. With the Super Bowl odds, like you said, the season is winding down, and we're getting ready to get more of a clear playoff picture. So I was going through some of the rankings and standings this past yesterday and a little bit of today, and was looking at some scenarios of like, okay, we all know about Mahomes, we all know about Jalen Hurts. They were in the Super Bowl last year, but there's some teams that, especially in the AFC, man, it's a lot of really good teams, a lot of teams that I could see in the Super Bowl. NFC, just seeing earlier today, like the Atlanta Falcons, I think are like the 4th seed at 5-6. It's just the NFC South, man, being what they are. It's unbelievable that they're able to even get a seeding. Like it almost makes you wonder. This will never happen in the NFL, but it's just like whoever's got the best record should just go to the playoffs. But that's just never going to happen because people, in terms of old school tendencies and stuff like that, they know how divisions work. But I came up with a scenario with like Super Bowl and possibilities, and the first scenario is, or both of the scenarios are, which one do you think is more possible? Cowboys, Ravens, or Jaguars, Eagles? And it's not to necessarily say that it's going to happen. I don't have any wagers or any type of money line or any type of bets placed on this. But between the Cowboys and Ravens, Jaguars and Eagles, which one do you think is more likely to happen? And P. Bush, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I'm just going to say right off the bat, I'm going to lean towards the Cowboys-Ravens one, and I'll back it up a bit. It really falls onto one team. I just don't really buy the Jaguars, man. And that's my issue with that Eagles-Jags matchup. Trust me, Eagles and Niners, I think, are the 2 top contenders. The Cowboys have been proving that they can win against the teams they're supposed to beat. And I think, once again, that's the issue. But the thing about the NFL is just one game, and their defense is really good. They obviously do miss Trayvon Diggs. We still know what Micah Parsons can do. CeeDee Lamb's had a major second-half resurgence after a slow start, similar with Dak. They've finally gotten Tony Pollard going, as we were talking about pre-production, about damn time, right, Zoo? Just in time for you.
Man, getting Tony's now.
Yeah, he's getting tutties now. So, I think their play calling, they finally adjusted a little bit, maybe taking a little bit off of Dak, putting it onto Tony Pollard. Rodney Dowdle has actually been playing pretty well for them. He's kind of come into that Tony Pollard role from the twilight years of Zeke's Cowboys era, as kind of being that change of pace back. So I'd just say I like them more than the Jaguars. The Jaguars did have an impressive win this past week. Trevor Lawrence, you know, still not a great game. I mean, he threw for a lot of yards over. I think he went,
That's all right. Yeah.
was it 300 plus, something like that. Still threw a pick.
Mhm.
Had one touchdown. He did rush for a touchdown, but they've also gotten away from Travis Etienne. It seems like every time one Jaguar does well, the other one kind of trades off. So it's like Calvin Ridley's finally having a resurgence, but Travis Etienne's cooled off. Zay Jones comes back. People are saying that's tied directly to Calvin Ridley's success
Production.
taking away in his production. Yeah, Zoo. But I just don't really buy them. Their defense, pretty good. Texans still had a decent game out of them, except on the rushing attack. And the Ravens, man, their defense is impeccable. I mean, they fly to the ball. Roquan Smith, former Bear, I loved watching him play. It was hard to see him go, but I'm glad he's on a contender. He deserves to be, in the playoff hunt as one of the best middle linebackers in the league. God, man, Zay Flowers has really come into his own. I know the Chargers are kicking themselves drafting Johnson over him.
Oh,
Maybe it was a
Man.
offensive fit, but I think you still got to take the best talent. Zay Flowers easily has been playing much better
Addison,
than
too.
Johnson. Obviously, Jordan Addison as well. So, I do think, and we talked about this in past podcasts, the Mark Andrews loss is huge for the Ravens. I think you do see that he is struggling to have that safety blanket option.
Yeah, the passing yards.
The passing yards are way down.
Hard to hit 200 without him.
Keaton Mitchell's been a nice find for them. Nice change of pace for the Gus Bus. Zay Flowers coming into his own is good. OBJ staying healthy is crucial. I just think I trust the Ravens more against a Jags team, for example, purely because I think their defense would wreak havoc on, honestly, a lot of the AFC teams. I think they'd give the Dolphins fit. I think they would give the Chiefs fits. And even the team like the Bills, who we've seen struggle against some really good defenses. So I'm going to lean towards the Cowboys, Ravens, just because I think they're better overall. But of the four teams, I still think the Eagles have the highest chance. I just really think the Jags are an easy fourth in that ranking.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Because I know you mentioned those Cowboys, man. I'm telling you, they're the biggest front-running team I've ever seen. When they're up, they know how to secure a lead. They play with such stress-free football. You see Dak Prescott out there just playing his best football because offensive line is doing his job. Dak Prescott airing out. Even he can make mistakes. Like sometimes he airs it out. I still remember he had a nice little deep pass to CD. Missed CD for a beautiful touchdown. Like Dak Prescott could play. Doesn't have to play perfect football because when he has these bad teams, these Commanders, these Panthers, these Giants, their talent is just so much
feasting.
It is feast. Like you go 45-10, 33-10, 49-17. Like this team's covering ridiculous spreads. Like they got spreads up to 17.5, and they're still covering these spreads right now.
College.
So yeah, exactly. So they are legit like a D1 team versus a D2 team and just whooping ass. I'm like, okay, that's good. But when you're in the playoffs, a.k.a. when you play the 49ers, which is a team that has historically owned them in the playoffs. Like, they can't beat the Niners. In the one game they played this year, they got destroyed 42-10, and that team's healthy now. Like, they got all their boys.
They did play the Eagles well.
They played the Eagles competitively, but they still lost that game. Like, what great win do they have this year? I can't name a single great win.
A close loss to the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. It's a loss to probably the Super Bowl favorite team in Vegas right now. So they don't have an elite win. Like the Chargers.
The Chargers win was decent.
The Giants, like the Jets, Giants, Patriots, and probably the Chargers, probably their best win. And that team's not even in the playoffs. And then you got the Rams, Giants, Panthers, Commanders. Like, a lot of those teams are going to be in the bottom of the draft, like drafting high this year. So, they're beating on these bad teams. But then those Niners and Eagles, I'm taking those teams every day of the week. Every day of the week against this team, even though Dak Prescott in the second half of the season, his numbers been awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Throwing 300-plus yards, 3-4 passing touchdowns, the little play action, throwing it to his tight end. Like, CeeDee Lamb is having his best – he's having a career season. Brandon Cooks – Second
Yeah,
half of the season's
come back.
really showing out like as a deep threat, as a second option. Like first half, he didn't really do much, but now he's showing as a true option. Like you mentioned, Tony Pio and Dowdo, they have a nice little running back by committee right now. Don't really need to rely on the run because the passing attack has been so good against these good teams. I'm still like, I need one win. I'm not asking for much. And the problem is right now, like this game against the Seahawks, they're a nice little cute Geno Smith, cute story, like whatever. Just Seattle Seahawks or whatever. But they're going to have opportunities against the Eagles. I still think the Bills are a good team, even though their record is otherwise. Like they play the Eagles tough, and they should have won that game
on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Like that Bills team is still legit, even on
at the Bills too.
Yeah, their record doesn't show it, but Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. Okay, that's the real test. We'll see what their record is after those weeks. Because right now they're 8-3 right now. I'm like, okay, that's a nice record, but
they'll probably get to 11.
80%. More than 80% were awful teams. So I'm out on the Cowboys until they prove me wrong and against these legitimate contenders right now. And they're gonna have a beautiful opportunity because I'm telling you, they keep leads against bad teams. So let's see them come back, be down a touchdown, and have Dak Prescott have to throw the ball back and throw them back in the game. And that opportunity haven't gotten it done.
Eagles. They were within 2 yards of beating the Eagles for that exact reason. CeeDee Lamb got tackled at like the 2-yard line, man.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah, the last play of the game, CeeDee Lamb, nice little catch, almost got the touchdown.
Would have won the game.
It would have won the game, but I don't know that as you mentioned, that Eagle team, they just find ways to win.
They do. Championship.
Oh, my God. Because that first half, Jalen Hurts was awful. He had that nice little rushing.
He's done that a lot this year. Too.
Yeah, that rushing touchdown. That dude is that's the greatest play in football right now. The 1-yard tush push is the most guaranteed thing in sports right now. But he was awful in the first half, like the interception and like just the amount of passing yards he had. I think it was less than 50 passing yards in the first half.
Yep.
And then he drops like 3 to 4 touchdowns in the second. It was insane what he pulled off. And the Eagles they don't get too high and they don't get too low because when they're down, they just play their game. He airs it out to Devontae Smith, airs it out to A.J. Brown. Like, they just play their game, and they've just been consistent. Like, the amount of impressive wins this Eagles team had, that Chiefs game, incredible.
They're the best of the four proposed, easily.
Yeah, easily. And,
but you like the Jags more than the Cowboys, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I'm taking the Eagles over both of them. Obviously,
yeah,
and then
so that
I feel
outweighs
like, I think it's a push with the Jags and the Cowboys. I think it's a push. Yeah, I
think the Jags have no chance to make the Super Bowl, like zero, literally zero.
But I think the Cowboys have 0% chance of making the Super Bowl. I said it, man. I said it. I will be shocked if Dak Prescott leads this team to the Super Bowl.
But I'd be even more shocked if Trevor Lawrence this year does. Even more shocked. Are you kidding? Trevor Lawrence has had a regression year. Trevor
Lawrence has had a good year. Yeah.
And
you know what I also think too, though, is as bad as Trevor has played, I just think, and I don't even know if this is a Dak thing. It's a Cowboys thing. It's like they just haven't got over the hump as a franchise. So I think that's weighing down on like people's perception, like to Zoo's point.
Because they've been good in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they do this, but they do this a lot. Like they usually are pretty good.
Every year. They're always like winning 10, 11, 13 games. Like this is like something I've seen before in the history of this franchise with Dak Prescott leading this team. They've always been a
Tony Romo
contender
too
every year, and then they struggle to win 2 playoff games. And
if they didn't get as beat down by the 49ers, we maybe this might be the year. But that beat down with San Francisco,
it's a very different team. It's a very different team right now than they were then. So that's why I agree with you. The next 3-4 weeks, huge. It'll tell us even if they go 2-2 out of those 4, I think that's a plus for them. That's a plus. Because they're not all at home. I just can't buy the Jags. I'm a heavy Jags fantasy football owner this year. I had T-Law in a league, C.Ridley, ATN. I've had Evan Ingram as well. Watching them play, man, I just think they're going to get exposed. I just think
the offense has been as impressive as I thought it would be this year. Yeah. I thought it was going to be.
And you got to beat the teams in front of you. That's the thing we got to say. You got to beat the teams in front of you.
That's kind
of NFC East is just very top heavy. Commanders and Giants are atrocious. That's 4 guaranteed wins, for both the Eagles and the Cowboys. And then on top of that, they're playing the NFC West. That's, you got to play the Cardinals, Seahawks team without Geno Smith potentially next week. The Rams haven't been that great this year. It's just the way it goes, man. But I agree. The Cowboys. Oh, I expect them to falter, but I just think the Jags. They ain't gonna do much, man. They ain't gonna do much. Because think about who's gonna make the wild card in the AFC. The Bills. They might have to play the Bills in the
That'll be
first
tough.
round.
That would be tough.
So
So
Browns even.
Hell, dude, the Jags could lose to the Browns. They could lose to the Browns.
That could be a real possibility.
Lawrence
Because
would
of just
throw
that
at least
defense
2 picks,
alone.
man. 2 picks.
If they play the Colts, then they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
But if they probably won't play the Colts. But I'm saying if they have to play the Browns, I might just pick the Browns just because
if the Texans have
that
to rematch
defense
them,
will go.
I'm taking the Texans, man. If the Texans have to rematch the Jags, I'm taking the Texans.
Now, the Texans have played them. Like, I think Texans kind of beat them, not beat them down, but beat them pretty soundly the first matchup at Jacksonville. And then in this game, if you watch, because I watched that game because it was a local game here, like, the Texans shot themselves in the foot because they had so many penalties in terms of just like pass interferences and stuff like that that aided, Trevor and them to get down.
They couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah, they kind of lost that game. I felt like, and I felt like that. I think they had a 4th and 1, and they had like a 3rd one, a 4th and 1, and threw it twice, which was just. And they were in shotgun.
The end of the half play I thought was actually huge. I think Christian Kirk got tackled at the 1 with 1 second.
Yeah, he got pushed.
Jags went for it and didn't get it,
and they didn't get it. Yeah,
the Texans defense is pretty good, man. And I know it's Trevor Lawrence. I was just shitting on him for not, having the greatest of seasons, but you still got to be the teams in front of you. It's going to be a tight division race with the Colts also above 500 now.
I think that's why I'm leaning Cowboys Ravens, even though I said it's kind of like this psychological thing with Dallas fans and them like getting over the hump, getting to NFC Championship game or even getting to the Super Bowl. When I think about it, it's like a lot of this, even though I was telling the guys before the pod, like, I didn't want to put Mahomes in there because it's just like by default, you're just going to pick Mahomes because he's been there and done that. But it's like in these scenarios, like especially the AFC teams, you got to get through Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So it's like, who do you trust more to get through Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl, Lamar or Trevor? And it's like, I don't know about the quarterback, but defensively, I think the Ravens could bother the Chiefs and Mahomes more than what the Jags could do with their defense and Trevor. So I kind of feel like that would be a good possibility. In the NFC, man, like just looking at the playoffs, bro, like, I mean, the 49ers and the Eagles are in a class of their own. But then when you look at the Lions, it's like they don't scare me anymore after seeing them the last couple of weeks. Like they're almost becoming like Zoo's line, a cute story. Like they're gonna make the
of last year.
They might be that, bro. Like they might. I'm gonna give them one more chance. But
that Bears game revealed a lot. I know they got the W, but the Bears outplayed them. You cannot get outplayed by the Chicago Bears in a football game.
All right.
Division game or no?
It was awful. they ain't playing for nothing. They're playing for Marvin Harrison. They're playing for Marvin Harrison, man. They ain't playing for wins.
Nah, we're letting the Panthers play for Marvin Harrison Jr., man. We're fine playing for like Brock Bowers, something like that. We'll take that 7th.
But it's like Falcons, Seahawks, Vikings. We saw them last night. Packers is on the outside looking in. So it's like I feel like the Cowboys. If any year, this could be the year that And if I'm maybe the Cowboys, if you're thinking about say it stays the way it is in terms of seeding, like somehow you can get the Eagles instead of the 49ers in any scenario in the playoffs. I would rather get the Eagles because you're familiar with them.
And
if you're able to just you could maybe make that game competitive and also win it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they had to choose, if how it felt, I don't know how the bracket's going to fall out, but hey, man, if you get the Eagles, this is like we saw how competitive they were. Maybe they beat them this last time, so it's like if you're able to get them, then you're able to get maybe into NFC Championship or even the Super Bowl. I think that's way more of a possibility than I just don't see a scenario right now with Jacksonville with Trevor having to probably on the road beat Mahomes or beat Lamar. Like I just going against that Ravens defense, going against Mahomes and Kelsey, because as much as, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. When I saw the Chiefs go down 14-0 against the Raiders, I was like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, what's going on? You guys are still good, but like, come on, like, is it a little still hangover? What's going on? So, I just believe more in the Cowboys because just the path of least resistance. Because I do think the Ravens can get there, and I do think the Eagles can get there easily. But like, man, the Trevor, I think to your point, Peebles, they need to focus on Travis Etienne. Take Bisbee hasn't got a lot of carries this year, but I think he's more of a battering type back. Like they need to use him more. Now I know Doug Marrone, pass happy, and they got options to throw the ball to. But you know, I'm just not big on what they're doing with Trevor right now, because even though he's regressed, I don't know if it's skill or if it's just they're asking too much of him. Like, because he's not a game manager. I think his echelon is he can be a top 5 guy. So I think but I don't know if he's ready for that yet. Because I think last year it kind of got accelerated because he kind of went, even though Mahomes, I think that was the game Mahomes got hurt in, wasn't it? I think that was the game. I'm not sure. He went toe Mahomes, and it's kind of like, oh, Trevor's now ready to take the next step in terms of top 5 guy. I don't think he's there yet. He can get there, but I still think they need to really, really focus on Travis Etienne, get him going, a little bit more Tank Bigsby. Like, say, you got Evan Ingram. They have the talent, but yeah, I think more so, and this is crazy to say, is like, I kind of would probably trust Dallas more. But like you say, Dallas is such a freaking, like, I almost feel like they're fraudulent because they've played nobody.
Yeah, but you got to remember,
I've
here's
seen
the
this
thing.
story so many times.
Yeah,
but here's the thing, boys. They're going to be the highest wild card. Right?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the lowest division winner? That's their
Atlanta.
first round matchup.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you got to.
You mean tell me Dallas is just going to waltz into Mercedes-Benz Stadium and just get a W? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
I don't know.
Do. Atlanta,
let's go.
You don't trust Dak? I don't trust Desmond Ridder.
Oh, God.
What
about Taylor Heineke? Would you trade Taylor Heineke? He's got a little. Didn't he win a playoff game? I think he did win a playoff game.
They may win by 20 if they play them, man.
He almost beat Brady.
Oh, yeah,
2020.
Yeah. That was such a weird year, though.
That was weird.
Man, that's such a weird year. But I don't know. Like I say, now that I made that, because before the pod, I was like, when I put out this whole list, I was like, yes, Cowboys, Ravens, definitely. But this one, it's almost like a push. I don't even know which one to pick now. Talking it through, I'm just not confident in either one of them. But I guess that's the beauty of being in a podcast. You get to talk stuff out. And, speaking of quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, guys like that, they were once younger quarterbacks in the league try to prove themselves. So I think Dak actually came out with more of a bang his first year, taking over with Tony Romo. He was on fire. But, after the last few weeks, I've seen some of the standings. And, we on this podcast, we've mentioned from time to time about Sam Howell and how he's, I guess at the beginning, I was just kind of like, I think he'll be all right. But I don't think he'll be somebody that they can see a future with. But, the team's not doing well, but I think Sam has played a little bit over his head in terms of how I thought he would, play. And I wouldn't say the team is in dire straits because I do think they get a couple of tweaks on defense and he keeps maturing. They could be a threat next year. But, juxtapose him to Jordan Love. I mean, I think everybody on this podcast is like, yeah, we're good. Like after the Chicago game, we were high on him. But then it's like after that, he just had a tough stretch. But he's kind of picked it up in the last couple of weeks. And it got me to thinking like, next year, and this is not a fantasy question, but just going to next year in terms of if you have keys to a franchise, who would you rather have starting next year as your QB1? And Zoo, I'm going to go with you on this one.
They're not going to lie. I've not been sold by Jordan Love. First couple games, even though the stats were kind of nice, I saw him missing.
Wait a minute.
throws. But my goodness, that game against the Lions, man, I was like, ooh. Oh, I saw a little something against the Lions. That was his best game of the year. He made the deep passes. He was able to extend plays with his legs. He looks physically pretty big out there. He's like 6'4", a good height for a quarterback. And against those Lions, man, putting up 29, because I think the Lions have a good defense.
Yeah.
That's a good defense.
You just talked about the Bears dropping 26 on them.
I know that is true. So that is true. The Chicago Bears might have exposed them as frauds, and now the Green Bay Packers might be exposing them again. So that is a true statement. I give you that. That is a true statement. But we're talking about Jordan Love right now. 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. Building a nice little connection with Christian Watson now. Finally, his guy's a little healthy. Yeah, finally a little healthy. That's the thing. His receiver's been in and out of the lineup. So finally get a little weapon. And this is without Aaron Jones, their best weapon, because you know my thoughts about A.J. Dillon. He's a nada, man. He just goes straight. Big little meatball goes straight for 1 yard. Like it's nothing, just nothing. Because like the weapon is Jaden Reed. Oh, that's a fast little dude. They're using him a little different ways, a little wide receiver, a little running attack, man, a little Tyreek, a little action. Yeah, legit. They're like the hybrid running back wide receiver. So they're being a little creative with Jordan Love. And not gonna lie, I felt a little indebted to Jordan Love because I had to start him in fantasy football last week. And that brother dropped 26 fantasy points. So I was watching that Thursday night game. I was like, let's go, Jordan Love. Let's go, Jordan Love. So I might be a little biased in there.
I was gonna say,
Jordan Love.
Here.
Yeah, I was watching that game 2 eyes open. Like, oh my God, my quarterback with a 26 piece, man, out playing Lamar Jackson. So like, okay, against the Lions, but that is a true point. Against the Bears, this team might just be frauds. Might be frauds. But still, like that game. The thing is with his age, though, he sat on the bench for a while, so like he should be more of a finished product compared to Sam Howell, who only sat out a year. But in his situation right now, it is just hard to tell Sam Howell because right now all his games are blowouts, and he is given free reign to just chuck the football every time because they're down 20, down 30, like it doesn't matter. Like it's just like he's not playing like any competitive football games right now. So it's like hard to tell, even though fantasy wise, you're going to get those garbage time yards. Like you throw to Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, like Jahan Dotson. You got some like pass catchers out there right now. So like Sam Howell, he could run a little. Like Sam Howell got a little toughness into him. He had a nice little rushing touch. Like he got a little toughness in him. But if I'm going to lean one way, like I'm not going to like if I have a franchise, I'm deciding for these two dudes, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I am in trouble.
Asking to resign.
I am fighting for mediocrity. I'm fighting for a 500 record. I'm fighting for 9 wins and 8 losses. So I ain't winning no championship. But I'm going to take the 6'4" man from the Green Bay Packers. Right I'm going to take him, but I'm not going to feel good about it.
What a turn. What a turn.
I'm not going to feel good about it because
we got to mark this in podcast history. We got to mark this down. What a turn. This is why I asked the question because I had a feeling Zoo was going to choose Jordan Love. I didn't know he had him on fantasy, but I had a feeling he was going to choose
the Lions was so beautiful to watch. Some of those passes, even though that pass to Christian Watson, he did slightly underthrow him.
Okay.
Yeah, dead B pass. So he did slightly underthrow him, but
he's not Tom Brady, Zoo.
Yeah, I need my quarterbacks to make deep throws, man. There's those opportunities when the defense messes up. You must be able to capitalize that because that's 50 yards and potentially a touchdown. You cannot be missing those.
The only reason
throws.
The Bears won last night, Zoo, was they blew that one coverage at the end of the game. That one pass.
Exactly. So when defense messes up, you must be able to take advantage. You got to be able to make the throws, especially when it's unforced. Like you're not getting sacked, like you're not getting pressure. You get all time to throw. So I'm gonna give it to Jordan Love, even though his resume is not there. Yeah, like it's not much there. Even though Sam Howell, I told you, he's not playing real football right now because every one of his games are just him chucking it for his life on the line. But he's getting sacked a lot too, so he's not really getting much
sacked. He's been sacked 5 times a game.
It's brutal. Wow, that O-line is brutal.
5 times a game he's getting sacked. This man has thrown the most attempts, the most completions, and the most yards this year. He is potentially on pace for 5,000 passing yards. Now, his ratio isn't great. I think he has 13
interceptions,
18 passing, 13 picks. He's got 3 rushing touchdowns and 4 fumbles. So call it 21 and 17 for total touchdowns, total turnovers. Jordan Love, not too far off from that. He's also got 21 total touchdowns and 16 total turnovers. But you want to know what the thing is for Mizu? The completion percentage, man. Sam Howell's at 67%. That's pretty damn good. Even if you're throwing garbage time.
Garbage time. I'm saying garbage time in the fourth quarter when the defense not really trying.
He's not throwing 300 yards a game and it's all coming in the fourth quarter. All right, they could still move the ball. He just gets sacked that it sets him back another 30 yards and then they have to punt. So, and the other thing is, here's the other thing. Jordan Love, 5 wins, right? Commanders, 4 wins. Much tougher division for the Commanders. Their defense is the worst in the league.
That is a true statement.
Their defense is the worst in the league. They are not giving him any help. And he's still somehow keeping them relevant. Obviously, you're right. There's been a lot of blowouts in that game. But that entire
I don't know about relevant.
Okay. No, not relevant.
They have the same record as the New York Giants. I would say the New York Giants are relevant.
I would say they're more fun.
They're the most fun bad team to watch. They air
it out. They have a guy that could chuck it. Unlike the Giants.
No, but here's the thing, Zoo. The Packers defense is no joke. They're probably a top 10 defense this year. Jordan Love can rely on them getting a stop every once in a while. Sam Howell, he has been thrown into the middle of the Pacific Ocean all by himself with no life raft. All right? And he's somehow going to lead the league in passing this year. It's not like he's got a true stud number 1. Terry McLaurin is not having a good year. Dotson has not taken the step.
Okay, Terry McLaurin is the number one option. He's a good solid wide receiver.
When was the last time he scored?
He's a discount Stephon Diggs.
Man, yeah, he's a Walmart version, maybe even a Dollar Tree version.
I don't know. Maybe he's on a new offense. He gets unleashed, man. I don't know. I like scary.
He's not washed. I'm not saying that, but he's not his number one target. He separates it out. Curtis Samuel was the best game last week.
Yeah,
Jahan Dotson has had some really good games. Terry's just always going to draw the number one, so you can argue that his production just goes down.
He's number one.
Brian Robinson Jr. has actually had a pretty damn good year. The entire offense has been placed on those two guys, Howell and Brian Robinson Jr. Yeah. That O-line is the worst in the league. The defense is the worst in the league. And he's doing this in his second year, not his fourth year, not his third year, whatever Jordan Love's in at this point.
I gave you the age. Yeah, I gave you the age.
I'm buying Sam Howell. He is getting the most and best experience that he could possibly be getting right now. He is getting the worst of the league at this point, and their team can only take steps to get better. They got more draft capital for trading their top two edge rushers. Yeah. They could bring in some more wide receiver talent. I think they just need to go pure offensive line, pure secondary next year. And I'm not saying this team's going to go 11-6 next year, but they could start hovering. They could start hovering. Yeah, in that division. They could start hovering around that 500 range, which is where I think the Packers will be. Now, I will say, I like the Packers wide receiver room. They got some nice young talent there.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
They need Luke Musgrave back next year, fully healthy, more progression with him. But man, you were right about Sam Howell earlier. He's 3 inches shorter. He's the same weight as Jordan Love, man. He's harder to bring down.
He's tough. He's very tough.
He's much tougher. I think he is more battle tested. He's going. He has to see two of the best teams in the NFC twice a year. He's seeing some of the best football against him, where he's only going to continue to progress. This is his first year as a starter, and he's going to lead the league in passing. Well, I know it's garbage time. You can call it all that, but give me Sam Howell, man. I'm taking him over Jordan Love any day of the week.
Okay. I think if you asked me this question 5 weeks ago, I would have said Sam Howell, just because I think Sam he's a baller. He's a gamer. I also think, too, Eric Bieniemy being there helps. Him having a semblance of Patrick Mahomes, that offense, him having that type of generational quarterback, that probably helped him mold a little bit of Sam Howell. But the thing that I thought was just a crazy thing, a stat, did you guys see the Aaron Rodgers comparison that they had?
No. Aaron Rodgers compared to Sam?
Wait. Listen to this. Not Sam Howell. Listen to this stat. This threw me for a loop. So through 11 games of both of their first years as starters, Aaron Rodgers, 25, basically 2,600 yards passing. Jordan Love, 2,600 yards passing. Aaron Rodgers, 17 passing touchdowns. Jordan Love, 19 passing touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers, 9 NTs. Jordan Love, 10 INTs. Both had 21 total touchdowns in their first year as starter. Now, nobody's saying he's going to be Aaron Rodgers. We all know that. But I do think there's something to playing the game. Like, he's been on the bench for 4 years, but I mean, outside of like the game against, I think, the Raiders, or I think it was the Chiefs, and like maybe some spot duty when Aaron Rodgers blew out some teams or when they got blown out, he hasn't played. So LaFleur, because that was the guy he wanted, when he got the job, he was like, I want this guy to back up. It was a lot of controversy when he got picked. Aaron Rodgers was kind of pissed off, like, we need to get weapons and other dudes on the defensive side of the ball. He got pissed. But I think LaFleur, and we've seen the pictures of him being in the same rooms with Shanahan and with McVay. They were all coaches together and buddy. So I think they all kind of have the same ideology in terms of how they think and what they think quarterbacks should be able to do. And I think with Love, it's just he just needed time to play. And the Green Bay Packers is probably one of the worst franchises to go to in terms of being the next guy up, because you're coming behind Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Yep. So, like, not only are you under the microscope of being like the next Green Bay quarterback, you got to be good. Like, you can't just be like, hey, let's grow into this role and we're just gonna be like, oh yeah, we're gonna let you grow and be a decent quarterback, then a good quarterback, then a great quarterback. Like, no, because the guys before you, even though I just said the stats of what Rodgers and Love was, like, I think still even then people were looking at Rodgers because of the wild throws, because I'm pretty sure he made a couple of wild throws in that year that maybe was like, like, this guy's a little different, even though his stats were kind of similar. Jordan Love hadn't made wild throws like that. He's a solid quarterback. So I think it's just he needs more time. And I kind of just trust, too, with Green Bay, as much as crap sometimes they get about, like, they only draft guys, they don't get many free agents. They draft really well.
They do.
And I think next year they're probably just going to get another guy, another third or fourth round receiver that's going to fit right in with Reed, Watson, Romeo Dobbs, whoever else is there, Luke Musgrave, they're just going to probably fit another guy in there. He's probably going to be an explosive 5'10" guy, and they're going to continue to add on defense. And I think situationally, I think he's going to be set up to be good to where he can really grow and be, I think, a good quarterback. Because also, coaching matters. I think LaFleur is going to devise up a game plan for Jordan Love to make him look better than what Howell is. Because Ron Rivera probably will get fired. I don't think he's lasting this year. No. So unless they promote Bieniemy, I'm nervous to who are they going to bring in? Because my theory, I want the offensive guy being the guy who's running the show. Now I know people are going to say, well, look at Staley out in the Chargers. He's probably just an outlier. He's just kind of not. I don't know what he's doing actually. He's more of a.
Staley's
he's a jag.
Guy.
Oh, he is? I thought he was offensive.
Yeah,
guy.
Brandon Staley's a defensive guy. He's known for defense.
That might explain why he didn't.
Yeah, that's why his defense not doing so good. People are asking him about his defense.
Yeah, that's probably why. And it's funny that you said that because I posted that on the page where he got that little clip of him getting a little.
Oh, he got snarky.
That's what happens when. That's what happens when your job's on the line.
You're wasting a generational type quarterback too, so that doesn't help. But the hire that's going to probably come up next with Sam Howell, that's going to be very important because if they do, which I think they should, promote Bieniemy and give him a chance. If they can keep that continuity, him and Bieniemy could be a really deadly combo because you can't. Sam Howell, he was drafted in the 5th round, I think. So nobody was looking at him he's a guy that's supposed to come in and start and be a franchise type quarterback. I think they thought he would be a guy who could spare the starter and maybe start for half a year if the starter gets injured for half the year or whatever. But him being with Bieniemy, they're able to get offense going. I like that. I like that marriage. I just think in terms of organizationally, I kind of just trust the Packers more, and I think Love will be maximized way more. I think his ceiling's a little bit higher, and it does matter. People love to talk about, look at Kyler Murray. People always go to Kyler Murray as he's the short guy who's whatever. But people fail to remember Kyler Murray is 5'9", probably 215, 210. And he's a crazy athlete. For the most part, we like our quarterbacks 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and they're mobile. That's just the league. Salute to Bryce. He may break the mold, but it's not looking too good right now.
He's not looking too good.
Yeah, very, very slow.
You said this Breeze is an anomaly, man. Listed at 6 foot, he was not 6 foot.
Yeah. And Breeze was his anticipation, he might go down as one of the most just throws that anticipating. He's so good at that. He had the ball out before the guy even thought about what route he was going to run. Yep. So he's another just unicorn. But I'm gonna go with Love. I like his trajectory right now, and a lot of these young quarterbacks, and I'm learning this as I'm watching more NFL and all that stuff. Sometimes these guys just got to play. You got to give them time, and I think he just was in a impossible situation. You can't, who the hell is gonna follow Aaron Rodgers? That's just hard to do. This is not a lot of people are going to be able to do that, and I think it kind of helped that Aaron Rodgers got hurt this year because imagine if Aaron Rodgers was really killing with the Jets, how much even more pressure would be on Love. I couldn't even didn't even want to imagine it. So we'll see. It's a nice little, because like you said, with one's 4-8, one's 5-6. Look at the Packers. What if they just sneak in the back end of the playoffs? Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Shocked. I'll be shocked.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? That Vikings loss kind of was oh boy.
Brutal.
I didn't like that. That would be crazy because right now they're a spot out of it. But we'll see how it shapes out for Mr. Howell and Love. So going into our Week 13 bets.
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
Per usual, I start with the money line. Just felt really good about it, man. I just felt really good about it. I didn't anticipate Detroit being super sloppy and unfocused, but somebody, when I was watching, because I wasn't eating at that time for Thanksgiving, but when I was watching, one of the guys at my house was telling me about how and he didn't have any stats, but he was man, the Lions, they never play well on Thanksgiving.
No, they play every year.
They're not good.
Every...
Yeah, and when he said that, it kind of perked up. I was this was at kind of the beginning of the game. I was I think I got this one. And then when I started the Lions fumbling and just Jared Goff was giving the game away, I was yes, money in the bag. The only time I got nervous was when Love turned around and had that he made the wrong way to
Yeah,
turn. He like messed up that fourth
Did
and
he
1.
hit AJ Dillon? I think
Yeah,
he
he turned the wrong way. He
Yeah.
turned the wrong way, and I was like, God, he didn't capitalize on that. So I was like, watch, Detroit's gonna mount a comeback. But
Nope.
they, Packers, they would have get me on that money line. And like I said this week, I'll talk about it later. But P. Bush,
Dude,
go ahead and
Gus
lay it.
Edwards,
Go ahead and
dude,
lay it out, man.
not touching Gus Edwards anymore, man. Absolutely brutal. Rashad White had a great game. It's just the game script. Colts just dominated them in the first half, and they were just forced to throw the ball to Mike Evans the whole damn game. Which, man, Mike Evans to score a touchdown, absolute lock. But I ain't going. I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs this week against the Saints, and Mostert versus the Commanders, man. Got to pick on the Commanders. I think Mostert getting 20 carries, even with Jeff Wilson. I think a lot of people thought Jeff Wilson was going to have a bigger week. A-Chain might be coming back. He's still a little questionable, Zoo. You might know a little bit more on his status at this point. But Mostert's still the guy. He's getting most of the carries, and I think you got to play the game script. Dolphins should be blowing this team out.
Should be.
And they just did it to a Jets defense that has held some pretty damn good teams. They held the Eagles to 16 points, man. And the Dolphins still took advantage. So just buying into that offense entirely. And second, obviously, I mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs against the Saints, man. Beautiful. Jahmyr Gibbs. I look what Bijan just did to them, man. Look what Bijan just did on both the rush.
Bijan on leash now. The head coach with the funny mustache has figured it out. Give it to Bijan in the red zone.
There you go. But even
happen.
though, Zoo, Algier also averaged 6.4 yards a carry in that game. So they combined for damn near 6 yards a carry as a tandem running back, which is exactly what the Lions have. Obviously, David Montgomery, we know he can take away some of those goal line works. But Jahmyr Gibbs, man, just gets so many touches, so much usage, and he's way more explosive. And once again, there's another game script that unless the Lions start blowing more leads or throwing 4 picks a game, I think it is going to favor them, especially if Olave is out for Derek Carr in that wide receiver.
Don't say that. I just traded for him. Don't say that, man. I just traded for him, man. Don't say that.
No.
He got concussion last week. It's called a 1-week recovery. He's good now. I need you at my flex position.
Got to pass protocol.
Well, they'll pass with flying colors, man. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to make the playoffs right now.
Oh, Jesus.
Write a little document.
No Michael Thomas either.
Exactly. Throwing to
and Rashid Shaheed.
I think Raheem Shaheed is also injured.
He's also injured.
Yep. He's
it'd be throwing. I don't even know who you.
Jawan Johnson time.
Probably Alvin Kamara for 20 targets next week if all these guys are out. Like that's probably what will happen. So
Alvin Kamara, one of my
Chris Olave coming back. I'm praying, man. I'm praying. But last week, oh man, I knew the Eagles would get it done because the Eagles just win games. But man, it was 4 points, man, and they only won by 3. Obviously, Hurts scores the touchdown in overtime, so I don't need to kick the extra point. So that was brutal. They won the game, but only by 3, but the spread was 4. So I missed the spread pick, man. I'm a little disappointed because the Buffalo Bills were whooping them. That first half was so bad. I'm like, yo, Eagles, let's step it up. A little too late to cover that spread. Shameful. Just shameful, man. They're a good team, but they didn't cover the spread for me this week. But I'm doubling down this week, man. Eagles covering the spread against the 49ers. The 49ers. The 49ers are favored, actually.
Yeah.
-3 on the road. So I saw that. I'm like, because in my mind, okay, this is a 50-50 game in my mind, automatically. And you give me 3 points. So if the Niners win by a field goal, which is highly possible, it's a push, so nothing happens. Give me the best team in the NFC right now. Give me the best team in the NFC right now, even though they could be down. This is what I love about this team. They could be down 10-0, and I won't feel bad at all. Because Jalen Hurts, even keel, man, never gets too high, never gets too low. He's anti-Nick Sirianni because that dude, like a child on the sideline. He's like a child.
He is.
No, he was talking like a couple of weeks ago against the Kansas City Chiefs, like, oh, he's talking shit to the fan. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Take some notes from your quarterback who's like 20 years younger than you, who's professional out there, even keel, like a true, like, yeah, that's a franchise quarterback. Well, Nick Sirianni, looking like a clown on the sideline, but he's still a pretty good head coach. Like, I like his aggressive play calling. Like 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, like barbecue chicken, man. We're going down on 4th down. 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 7. Just chuck it down there. So I love the aggressive play calling. Against the Niners team, obviously, this team's elite. Most of the team is healthy now. Brock Purdy, after his rough couples of weeks, obviously without Deebo Samuels, a couple of his other weapons, like they're all back now. And that team's an 8-3, 4-2 on the road, and they've been completely dominating ever since the weapons are back. When Brock Purdy, they even have his MVP candidate. I don't know about that. That's just like getting a little carried away. Like Brock Purdy's a nice little quarterback, making some nice throws, but that game against the Jaguars, that was impressive. That was a couple of weeks ago. That 34-3 win against the Jaguars, who's a playoff team, that was impressive. Okay, they beat up against the Seahawks. Geno exposed as being a fraud. Like, the dude's just not that good at football. He's just not that good at football. They should have drafted a quarterback in the previous draft. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. Geno's a stopgap filler. So they beat on the Buccaneers. Okay, that team's not a good team. So 49ers, Eagles, I admit it's two elite teams, but 50-50, yeah. I'm taking a team who's the dog. I'm taking a team who's a dog who I can easily see. No more. They win by a field goal. I still win. So I'm taking the Eagles, man. I'm doubling down on the Eagles.
That's a ballsy pick. Because you know what's funny? I'm looking at that. What is it? The money line on that one is plus 124 Eagles. So I mean, it's not crazy value.
Give me the money line, man. Sean, I'm joining your side, man. Screw the spread. Money line, baby. Let's go. I'm gonna put that in there, man. Screw the spread. Let's just bet Cowboys winners. I'm picking it this week.
I don't think we can hear you, Peebush.
Yeah, Peebush, you're on mute, man.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
If it's 3.5, it would be a different story. But if it's 3, man, you're risking that push, man. Unless you want to buy the half point.
Yeah, screw pushing. I'm about winning. Let's go.
Yeah, I think I saw that money line bet. I was like, plus 124. That's kind of interesting because I knew the Eagles were going to be dog home.
It's a 50-50 game. And game plus odds. I'll take that every time. Every time.
Well, I don't think you're going to like my money line pick because it's 2 of them that I was looking at. And the first one I saw that I'm not going to pick was actually the Packers Chiefs, just because of I'm interested. I'm not picking this one, but I was interested last week when I saw them. Like I said, they went down 14-0. I know it's the Chiefs. They came back, they covered, they did whatever, but it's like it's kind of a little late in the season to be having like, you know, the Raiders with the interim coach be competitive with you. Like you should be putting these teams away. Yeah. Like they did lose to Denver earlier. It's like I'm interested. What's going on with the Chiefs? Like I know the receivers are dropping passes. Kelsey's still Kelsey, but I mean, at least fantasy-wise, he's kind of been okay for me. But I feel like I want a little bit more from him in terms of getting more points from me. But I was just like, I don't know. I mean, what's going on? Like, why are they doing this? Why are the Chiefs not being as dominant as I think they could? And then I saw it was at Green Bay. I was like, maybe elements, who knows? But I'm staying away from that because you just don't want to, you know, tug on Superman's cape. You don't want to mess with Patrick Mahomes because as soon as you do that, you're probably gonna get burned. You're just gonna get burned. So Zoo has mentioned this guy a couple times in this pod as being a Jag, and while I agree, I think he's just a guy. I kind of like him with the Cowboys this week. Geno Smith, man, 9.5. I think the odds. What are the odds on this one?
Wow.
I think the odds on this is plus 350. It's really good odds.
Kenneth Walker.
Now he has to play. I think he's gonna play. I haven't seen anything on the injury report where they're saying he's not gonna play. So I think if he does play, this game to me kind of feels like Dallas is like, okay, we're feeling ourselves like we beat all these tomato cans, you could say, and we just got a lot of confidence. We're at home. But Seattle always usually has a solid defense. And Geno is just a guy, but I do think he can maybe make it to where DK Metcalf has some one-on-ones. Now, like I said, I kind of messed up, I think, way early in the pod when we were talking about NFL. And I was like, well, who's going to be the other guy who's going to come in for Trevon Diggs and be any good? Well, Deron Bland is – he's actually a solid cornerback, and he knows how to pick the ball off and go to the other side of the field.
Got a record already.
He's actually a good – he's a good DB. So I'm interested to see that matchup. Stephon Gilmore is another solid corner that they have on the outside. But, you know, Lockett, Metcalf, I think the Ohio State receiver, I can't remember.
Smith-Njigba.
Yeah, he may be playing whatever. They got weapons on the outside. So I'm thinking to myself, Zach Charbonnet, if he can be solid, I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to play, which if Kenneth Walker was going to play, I would be I think the odds would probably be a little bit down because he's just an elite back. But like I don't think he's playing. Yeah, which would still be pretty good odds. But, you know, for me, I'm thinking to myself, man, maybe Cowboys are looking ahead. They're like, you know, we got a couple of games. I don't know. I think they play the Bills maybe the week after. Like, they're just not serious about Seahawks.
Trap game?
Yeah, I like it. Plus 350. Like I said, they're, you know, there's not a lot of other ones that were. I'm like, oh, like Cardinals, Steelers plus 198. Cardinals, nah, I'm good. Steelers are gonna figure out how to win because that's just what they do. Commanders, I almost picked them last week and saw the Dallas game. I got burned by them. Like Panthers plus 188. Hell no. Like no, like Browns plus 150. Like there's just not a lot of good like that one. The Packers Chiefs plus 230. That's just really enticing because it's in Green Bay. Who knows? Maybe if it snows, it's just like I don't know how they would do, but it's probably not going to snow. So like I'm not going to go against. I don't want to bet against Mahomes. Like I said with Dallas, they could be looking ahead, but that's the only interesting one. Like I said, plus 360. What was it? Plus 350.
350. Yeah.
Who knows? Like I said, if it was in Seattle. Like the hammer, but no, it's in Dallas. Good weather, controlled. We'll see. I don't know. Like I say, I'm playing with house money now because I'm like I think around 6-3 with my money line bet. So I'm like, I don't feel the pressure to be like give it a good one. Yeah, just let Gino cook in this one, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll keep putting
that's a bold pick, man. I'm shocked.
Yeah,
really.
Both of you got bold picks.
I'm shocked, man. Geno Smith.
Mine are always
12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's all I got to say. 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Really.
Just having
a
very mediocre year. Yeah. Even though you look at his weapons, DK Metcalf,
he's got
Tyler
really
Lockett, and JSN. That's a nice receiving course. You can't say the weapons are garbage. So, he only got 12 touchdowns. That's kind of sad.
They should be in because there's a lot of good quarterbacks this year. Like they're not going to get May or get Williams, but
trade.
Yeah, they could trade up maybe, which could be a possibility. But Michael Penix, like him, I'm not really a big Bo Nix fan because he's been in college for 8 years, and I just think
he's like 25.
Yeah, I'm good on. I'm just the guys who are that old. I'm just
same age as Lamar.
But yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Like Stetson Benson, Bennett was last year. Yeah, he's pretty much. Which he's probably about to be a financial guy soon because I don't know what his deal.
Yeah, the Browns will probably sign him.
Yeah, yeah, they need a backup, but I don't know. They need to go get a quarterback. If they get a guy like Michael Penix, like I said, they're set up with the receivers, and like I said, they got two. I think Charbonnet, whatever his last name is, he's a good solid number 2. Kenneth Walker, as long as he stay healthy, they got weapons. So yeah, they need to go get a quarterback that can maximize all their skill talent. And shout out to Pete Carroll for still just figuring it out because they're still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
Putting himself in that not Mike Tomlin yet, but they're just always relevant, man. They're just always relevant.
That's another thing too. I forgot to bring up. I know the Vikings lost last night, but Packers are 5-6, Vikings 6-6, Seahawks 6-5. They kind of need this game because you don't want to get to 6-6, and then it's
Bears
the Packers
are 4-8,
pulling
man.
ups out.
Bears could win out and make the playoffs, man. Which is sad.
What is their schedule? Do you have their schedule?
Schedule in the league. Everybody knows it this year.
That's impossible, man. If they made easiest schedule in NFL. No, the teams that play the Chicago Bears got the easiest schedule in NFL. This is stopping.
So they got to play the Lions. They play the Browns, Cardinals, Falcons, Packers.
All right, Browns is going to be tough.
Browns are tough.
Cardinals,
it's very tough.
You said Cardinals, Packers.
Cardinals, Falcons, and Packers.
Those are 3 winnables for sure. Yeah. You got to get past the Browns.